And that is where we are right now. And that is why I say culture is more important than politics. And if you don't start fighting the battle at the cultural level, then we're going to lose.
Thank you.
I can also just say, when you mentioned about the schools, could you imagine if we had kids in classrooms, high school classrooms, college classrooms, taking video of their teachers and somehow being able to get that to Andrew to put up on his new website, the education website? Because America would be shocked, the parents would be shocked to know what they're paying for in these classrooms. I had one of my kids go to a community college around here. He dropped out of his English class. This was a requisite course. He had to take the class. First day of the class, the teacher let everyone know she was a Marxist. And in the very next sentence she said, and by the way, Jesus was the biggest fool that ever lived. So this is her opening statement to the class. And it just digressed from there. What if there was video of that? You know, so parents could begin to see, so government leaders could begin to see what's going on in, hello, an English class. This would be very
And you don't
good.
even have to dress up as a pimp or prostitute. They just say it. They say it.
Well, I've been advocating this for a couple of years, that if there's one thing that we ought to spend money on in the schools, and this is where the CTA and the teachers' unions, they would all come down against it. How about if every classroom in this country was outfitted with a webcam and microphones, and you as the parent could sit home and say, oh, what's happening in Johnny's class today? You dial up the website and you're watching it.
You're a consumer.
Now can you imagine what would happen? You talk about getting uninterested parents, disinterested parents interested in education, the school board, the PTA, like that, in a New York minute.
I want to encourage everybody to move to Bakersfield, where In God We Trust is hanging in every classroom, and the founding documents as well, at least in the high school district, which is the largest in the country.
That's really great.
Yes, and my sons, both of my twins, teachers told them that climate change was hippie crap. So, we're still fighting to keep it instead of fighting to turn it back. So we're very lucky, and it's an everyday battle.
All right, I've been, Larry.
If I was in Orange County right now, I would be giving a Rush update at the Rush Limbaugh Club of Orange County. If you Google Rush Limbaugh Club, you'll find only one. And we meet at the Costa del Sol Country Golf Course. Why I'm bringing this up is, I'm a firm believer in the Tea Party. I led the Pledge of Allegiance to kick off the Tea Party in San Juan Capistrano on 9/12, so I do believe in it. But the fact that there are no more Rush Limbaugh clubs across the nation, and that he is badmouthed all the time, I'm afraid that if we don't have significant victories with the Tea Party this year and or next year, it'll go the way of interest and involvement that hasn't happened with Rush Limbaugh. One other thing, in Orange County last year, I listened to Glenn Beck and Laura Ingraham on one of the big channels out of LA. And one morning I woke up and it had gone to an all-music format. In the afternoon, listening to Sean Hannity, it's preempted by Dodger baseball now coming out of LA. I just wondered if any of the three of you that are on radio have seen any other trends like this.
No, you know why that's happening? Because Inga's kicking butt down there and nobody can compete.
Yes,
She's covering the whole state. They can't compete.
That's right.
Well,
go ahead.
go ahead. Yeah, I'm just going to say that it's really a business kind of thing,
Yeah.
a business decision. If the stations are making money with the programs and getting ratings, then they'll stay and prosper. But here's the thing: it may be difficult to hear it on the radio if the station drops the program, but there are plenty of radio stations across the country, mine, Inga's, Brian's, that stream their audio. And you can go online and listen to those programs live.
Yeah,
Okay,
and then the
but-
sports events, that's just something that people contract for. I mean, if they don't air the Dodgers, somebody else will, so they try to air everything. And
But I think
in what Larry was talking about, there's an important notion here. The Tea Party movement, what is
Yeah.
its staying power? What do they have to achieve this year in your mind, and to get beyond just this year? Because as you guys are pointing out, this isn't a one cycle issue.
One of my favorite things about the Tea Party movement is that it's so incredibly organic and even innocent when it first started. The Tea Party in Bakersfield, our congressman brought John Boehner to the event, and the organizers said, "We're sorry, you can stand in the crowd, but you're not invited to speak. This is the people's event." And so they did, and they were but yeah, I loved it too. I thought it was fantastic. No disrespect to the congressman, but it was the people's movement. And I personally think that we shouldn't try to grab onto it and make it into something and evolve it and take it over and identify ourselves necessarily with it or make it identify with us. I think we should let it do what it's going to do. And, you know, things do peter out sometimes, and that's okay. I'd rather that happen than to artificially pump it up, and next thing we know, we've got people on the payroll that are, you know, with business cards that say Tea Party. Does that make sense? So, well, I hope that it stays. I hope it stays as organic as it is. And if everybody says we can't get along, this is over. We had a great ride, and they shook up the nation, and that's fantastic.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I love how everybody's trying to figure out how to wield this thing, and that is such the beauty of it. When you go to Washington, D.C., I can't tell you how many conservative organizations are incredibly organized, and they started off with the best of intentions, but then they become, for lack of a better term, rackets. And it's the most disturbing thing to go from Los Angeles, where you think you're in a corrupt place, and you see the conservative movement, and you see up close how good people can be corrupted by institutions that become self-sustaining. Think tanks are for, you make money and they're donors, and it's a constant pursuit of saying we're where the action is. And so there's almost a resentment within the racket factory in DC that the Tea Party movement's happening, and I can't tell you how happy I am that that's happening, because of course the Tea Party movement is a checks and balance against the hard left, but more beautifully, it's a checks and balance against the corrupt right.
Before we get away, I get asked all the time on the radio, what should the Republican Party do with the Tea Party movement, da 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 da.
The question is, what should the Tea Party movement do with the Republican Party?
But my answer is, there's an important dynamic with the Tea Party movement, which I've talked to Andrew about. There is no one leader to the Tea Party movement. And what's great about that is, there's no one person to vilify. Believe me, if there was a structure, the media would go after that person and say they're corrupt, therefore their ideas are corrupt. The fact that it is, you know, you can't even say, the Tea Party movement, you can't say there's one Tea Party group. There isn't. The Tea Party Express will be doing an event here. There's many aspects of it. So, look, here's my view on it. I think it should remain organic because it has a greater gravitational pull. And this ultimately, yeah, I'm a Republican Party official and I want the Republican Party to do well. But that's only because I want liberty to do well. And their gravitational pull is the dynamic. The discussion today is, there's a perfect example of where the left is messed up. Nancy Pelosi was asked about a Supreme Court decision on free speech, whether or not entities can spend money in elections. You know what her response was? Well, this is a shift in power. Her response wasn't freedom or not. It was, here's the political change in power. The left does not think of things in whether you're free or not. And by the way, Madison, Jefferson, and Washington were kind of concerned with that issue, freedom. They think of power.
Yeah, exactly.
And the greatness of the Tea Party movement is that gravitational pull that we're discussing. You know, and to tell you just how ridiculously far we have come. The clunker program, okay? You need to understand where our country is and was. Madison and Jefferson were both asked whether people came to them and said, we need to build roads, and we think we should tax Americans to do that. Both Madison and Jefferson said that was a good idea. But you know what they said? That the Constitution does not allow for that.
Right.
They did not think you could tax welfare clause. They did not think you could tax people to build a road. And now we are taxed so people can buy cars on the roads that we are building with tax money, and never once has the Constitution been amended. So we need to, again, the brilliance of the Tea Party, I don't want to control them. I want them out of control because they're driving the left out of their minds.